Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TwitWow, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our Monday Night Raw review. And I'm gonna level with all of you. I hated this show. Save for only two really amazing things that got me excited for the future, I thought this Raw really was atrocious. Maybe that's me being a bit too caustic, so I'm going to hand it over to Ashton and get his perspective on what he thought about it.
Well, before I give my perspective, John, just to kind of put your opinion into perspective, 1 to 10, scale of 1 to 10, what would you say this show was for you?
I'd say, because of the two things I got excited about and trying to be fair about that, I'd say maybe a 4 for me.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we're definitely differing on this one. I would say that 60% of tonight's show would have been like a 3 out of 10 for me.
Right.
And then maybe like 20% was like a 5 or a 6. And then another like 10% was like a 7. And then another 10% was like a 9. So,
okay.
like, overall, I'd say that this was like a 7 for me.
Okay. And that's understandable, certainly. And I'm going to be very intrigued to get to our first segment to really discuss that further. Because, yeah, there was just some stuff on this show that really angered me, and I want to get into it.
Well, you know what? This is the segment to do it, and let's get into it.
Heat of the night. Now, it's going to be interesting because I have 2 heats of the night, but I have one nitpick. Let me get to the heats of the night first. Heat of the night number 1, and we've been over this before, but it bears repeating. I'm getting not commentary, no. Actually, commentary didn't bother me tonight, believe it or not.
That shocks me because that was my biggest problem with tonight.
I am getting really sick and tired of Cena pulling his jorts down by his ankles and crapping over everybody else.
Oh, the opening segment?
The opening segment with Seth
Rollins that was bad.
Pissed me off so bad. I am like, look, I gotta come off a little bit here because I have a lot of steam to blow off. Who the hell does John Cena think he is talking to Seth Rollins that way? The guy had a tables match with you last night that was overbooked as hell. I mean, yeah. But the fact is, he was a heel, he was crafty, had you beat a couple times, through heelish means, of course, but really stood toe-to-toe with you, has gone toe-to-toe with you in the past when he was part of the Shield, and the first thing you tell him is, step aside, kid, let the grown-ups talk?
While dressed as a 10-year-old.
While dressed as a 10-year-old. And, oh God, I want to really just get bad with my language right now, but I'm restraining myself. It's ridiculous. It's disgusting.
Don't you love how earlier on today a report came out, Mets Fan Forever on Reddit said that John Cena held a talent meeting and they were talking about how he stressed that a silent protest isn't necessarily what the roster needs, and then instead they need to go out there and start stepping it up every night for their point to be proven. Well, John, your point was proven tonight. The problem is it's not the one that everyone else wants to send.
Yeah, BS on that. You go out there on live television in front of all those people, and Detroit was a nice crowd, I thought.
There were some moments that this crowd almost pissed me off, like they were doing what chants towards Paul Heyman, but he kind of manipulated them to the point that they couldn't, like he wasn't talking in a rhythm, so it prevented them from really getting into it.
Right.
And like just little things like that, but for the most part, this crowd did some things that I wish every crowd would do.
Definitely. But to keep the focus, because I don't want to ramble on too long, because I'm curious if you have any complaints. That was my first heat of the night. And again, we've had prior discussions, so it's not like I'm going to add anything new there just because it's Seth Rollins.
All right. Well, you know what? Since a lot of the time when we do heat of the night, we like to kind of play ping pong. You do one, then I do one, then you do one, until one of us or both of us runs out.
Right. So do you have any?
I have one.
Okay, you have one. What was it?
And I've already said what it is, assuming that it was what I thought yours was, and that's commentary. And more specifically, it's commentary as a whole, but I do want to point out 2 specific instances where commentary literally made me yell at my TV, which is something that I try not to do because I know it's unproductive. The first example was Damian Mizdow. Apparently now JBL is a huge fan of Damian Mizdow and Michael Cole doesn't like him. So our heel commentator is rooting for Damian Mizdow and the Usos, and one of our two babyface commentators is against Damian Mizdow and also cheering for the Usos, all in the same match. Massive contradictions going on there. And in the main event, I was so angry at this. Michael Cole, dude, freaking John Cena had Seth Rollins locked in the STF, and Michael Cole was screaming at the top of his lungs, "You can't win this kind of match by submission! You can't win by submission!" I kid you not, no more than 2 minutes later, Cole says, and I quote, "Well, you can win this match by escape, pinfall, or submission."
Oh my god. See, now I have to concede to everybody. I only saw bits and pieces of the main event because I had something personal come up. I did see the good stuff, so don't worry. I'll be able to contribute my voice to that aspect of the show. But I did not hear that from Cole. That is bad. So I can understand your frustration and your anger, and that definitely makes it a worthwhile heat of the night. Just that instance alone, I think, puts it in the worthwhile category. I just think my thing with commentary, particularly JBL, as it were, I just think I've gotten so numb to it, dude.
Oh, and that's another thing. Jerry Lawler, at one point when Kofi Kingston was talking about how much of a sweater, or no, you know what? It might have been a segment where someone was actually talking about getting a sweater or wearing a sweater. I don't remember exactly, but Jerry Lawler said something about how one time I got a sweater for Christmas, and what I really wanted was a moaner or a screamer, but I got a sweater.
Oh, God.
Yeah. More of Perv Lawler.
Because that didn't wear its welcome out, in the early to mid 2000s, right?
That wore its welcome out in 1998, dude.
There you go. So that was your only complaint. So I guess we're gonna ping it back to me, so to speak.
Yeah.
My second heat of the night, and it's great.
Looking forward to this. Yeah.
It's gonna wrap into my nitpick as well, so it's gonna be a nice little gift with a nice little bow tie on it. I hated how Roman Reigns came out and shut Fandango down. Because I was loving what Fandango was doing throughout the night. The little antagonisms with Chris Jericho. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe he's going to come out and pick the bones of Jericho, because Jericho had a little run-in later in the night, which, we'll talk about. And I'm thinking, well, maybe Fandango will capitalize on that. No, okay, disappointing, but we see he's going to have a match. So why don't we just let him have a match and then just rub it in Jericho's face, his misfortune. No. None of that happened, because Roman Reigns felt the need to come out and jack his jaw with a Superman punch. And I was liking the direction of Fandango, throughout the night. I was actually invested in him. And then Roman Reigns comes out, and he nails the Superman punch, which then leads to our nitpick. Because, yeah, Roman Reigns is about to talk, but then Big Show comes out. So then, to your point, Ashton, because we were talking, now we know why Big Show is getting built up, because he pinned Eric Rowan in a tag match earlier in the night after the knockout punch. And what my nitpick here is, you're telling me you passed over Eric Rowan, who was an intriguing character to me in this babyface role and was still very new in it. So you pass over him to get that rub and really look like something for this crowd, overcoming Big Show at TLC, or hell, at least getting the pin tonight and getting his win back. You just say screw all of that so that you can set Big Show up for Roman Reigns, because he really needs it, right? And for all intents and purposes, everybody's got him as a lock to win the Royal Rumble this year. I even said on Pweetov, I think I said there aren't enough hands in the world for the face palm that this booking deserves. It makes no sense to me, and it irritated me beyond belief.
Yeah. Here's my thing. And I don't necessarily disagree with you entirely, but I think that I see a positive in this from a perspective that you're not bothering to look at.
Okay.
I agree that Fandango is entertaining and should have been given an actual segment on Raw tonight, because I agree with you. I'm with you in that I'm a fan of Fandango, especially this new and improved Fandango, if for no other reason because I absolutely love that they're committing to him being a heel.
Right.
And I absolutely hate that they are building up the Big Show to feed to Roman Reigns. So again, those 2 points, I agree with you completely. But I do want to say, if you are going to give Roman Reigns the mega push, this is exactly how it needs to be done. He shows up, he beats a couple of heels up, he says one line on the microphone, and that's it. I do not want him getting these friggin' interview segments like what he got at the Rumble or at TLC. I do not want him in long, drawn-out matches. This is exactly the way that they need to book Roman Reigns if they want him to look like a remotely credible champion by the time he gets to that point.
And you know what, actually, you do, in all honesty, bring up an excellent point there. If we were to look at this objectively and look at it in terms of WWE's long-term goals, and that is making Roman Reigns the next guy, the next big main event player, then you're absolutely right. This booking is sound and ideal for a man of his position. I just think at the same time, though, my problem is I think it comes at the cost of potential undercard build, because I don't even think Chris Jericho was sticking around, but I was just looking for Fandango to really put an exclamation point on all of their run-ins throughout the night and everything, and I just felt like that was a missed opportunity. But you're absolutely right. If the grander scheme of things is Roman Reigns and him being that guy, then this is the way you do it. And even if I don't like it, that doesn't matter, you know? It's just the way you do business. It's just a shame for Eric Rowan, too, because I was really looking forward to him getting his win back, and I don't think that's going to happen now, so Big Show can say that he's pinned Eric Rowan 2 straight times. And I think that sucks. But, yeah, I mean, if it gets Roman Reigns to where he needs to be, maybe it was a worthwhile trade-off. I don't know. That remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it from an objective point of view, which is really, really difficult nowadays, but looking at it from an objective point of view, if the WWE wants to get Roman Reigns over as their next top babyface, what they did tonight was perfect.
Yeah, definitely. You're absolutely right about that. And no matter my feelings or no matter my saltiness, again, at the end of the day, when you're looking at this honestly, that's irrelevant. Yeah. So you definitely make an excellent point there, and I have to concede that.
All right. Now, I don't have another heat of the night, but I feel like I do have another nitpick in me if you want to go there.
Yeah, no, let's have it all out here, dude. I wasn't a fan of this show at all. You know that.
Well, again, though, I didn't hate this show. I really didn't. Right. But there were just little things here and there that made me cringe, wince, facepalm, random just little things. And to me, the number one thing that I think is really, you know what, this might even be, I'm going to say this might even be a full-blown heat of the night and not just a nitpick, because this is company-wide. Why does Vince McMahon think that top baby faces need to be bullies?
What's your example here? What are you correlating that with the show? Because I'm trying to think.
Well, I mean, first of all, between John Cena getting into the ring and saying, "Step aside, kid, the adults are going to be having a conversation."
Right. Yeah.
And then Roman Reigns pretty much attacking Fandango for no reason. Like, what did Fandango do to Roman Reigns?
Yeah.
And then you have Chris Jericho trying to fight a 50-something-year-old man.
Yeah.
And everyone's happy about that. Like, I don't know about you. I'm pretty sure I have a good idea of what you would think because we're good friends and I know you pretty well. But I did not want to see Jericho versus Heyman. And if anything, I was happy that Brock Lesnar ended up showing up and preventing Heyman versus Jericho from happening because I didn't want to see Heyman versus Jericho. I don't think anyone did. I would be willing to bet you didn't. I know for a fact my mom didn't. I know that most of Reddit wouldn't have wanted to see that. I don't understand why the WWE announces that a match like that is going to happen and tries to make it seem like that's a good thing.
Yeah, stepping outside of it, because I will say this, I only wanted it to happen because I felt like Lesnar was going to do the running, because I have read for a while now that he was going to be.
But that's the thing, though, John. You didn't actually want to see Brock Lesnar versus Chris Jericho.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry, Paul Heyman versus Chris Jericho.
The match by itself on its own merits, no, of course, nobody would want to see that. So that's what I'm saying. Like, not even coming in with that information of, is Lesnar going to come in and just tear stuff apart, and just looking at it for what it is, and that's Jericho versus Paul Heyman. You're, again, absolutely right. Like, why is that even a thing? Why is it this big deal? I get that Heyman is a heel, and you want to see a heel, especially when they're as slimy and so brilliantly manipulative as Paul Heyman is, get some sort of comeuppance.
But Heyman never does anything to anyone. He never physically does anything to anyone. Like,
Right.
you could go as far back as to say Stephanie McMahon was the perfect example of a heel who you really feel like they need to get some kind of a comeuppance on, because she, first of all, she physically slapped multiple people, including the Big Show, and second of all, well, and freaking Brie Bella too. And second of all, she was constantly just verbally berating people, whereas when Paul Heyman speaks, he doesn't say that somebody is crap. He normally gives people credit. He says, Chris Jericho, I'm a Jerichoholic, that kind of thing. But then he says, just because I like you doesn't mean that you're good enough to beat Brock Lesnar.
Right.
So I don't understand. Like, it's two different kinds of heels. There's one heel where you really just loathe and despise them and want to see them get the crap beat out of them. And then there's the other heel where it's just like, yeah, you kind of hate them, but it's more the people that they're representing that you want to see get beat up.
Precisely. Yeah, I completely agree with you with that dichotomy of the different types of heels. And yeah, I just don't understand why they make such a big production of it. It's not even like, if Paul Heyman was even more like a Vince McMahon character, and say didn't really get too physical with people, but had power that he abused to achieve certain ends, like, even that's understandable, but Heyman doesn't even have a modicum of power like that.
Right.
So yeah, it's stupid.
Yep. All right. Well, that's it for our, I'm assuming, since you said that you had 2 plus a nitpick and you already did those heats of the night. So if you want to move on, we don't have SmackDown to talk about, so let's just go ahead and move on.
Yeah, let us get right into our Monday Night Raw review. And we open up in I think the Joe Center is called in Detroit with Raw is Jericho. Jericho comes out, the crowd really feeding off Chris, and Chris feeding off them in kind. He says he's really happy to be there, and he's even more grateful that he won the Slammy Award for Most Extreme Moment of the Year. This is the first mention of Fandango. He does diss him, and he says like he wants his Slammy back. He's demanding that he gets it back, and he starts doing these cutesy like variations with Fandango's name. And then, of course, Paul Heyman comes out. Heyman makes the interruption. And as you said, Ashton, like Heyman even said to Jericho tonight during this segment, hey, I'm a Jerichoholic, but you didn't deserve the Slammy Award for Most Extreme Moment of the Year, and that's coming from the father of Extreme. He talks about his history with ECW and all that stuff. And I think Heyman is about to give himself another accolade, but Jericho cuts him off and says, Heyman's the walrus. And he does that whole play on that Beatles song. And he says Heyman still owes him $200 from the ECW days. He starts to step towards Heyman, and then Heyman, of course, breaks out my favorite line, no, wait, stop, I'm an advocate! I'm an advocate! And, he got really nervous.
People just can't seem to grasp that, can they?
I know, right? Poor Paul. The guy's a father and an advocate. Like, just let the man be. But, then the conversation shifts to Seth Rollins, because he says he wants to address that situation. Seth Rollins' failure to put John Cena out of championship contention last night at TLC. And then Seth Rollins comes out, and that to me is where the segment got a bit more interesting, Ashton, because we see again this antagonism that exists between Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman.
Yeah, this whole thing with Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman was pretty cool, but I just want to say Chris Jericho annoyed the piss out of me tonight.
The funny thing is, Ashton, like, I enjoyed him here in the opening segment. When we get to his highlight reel later in the show, that's when he annoyed me. That's when he really got on my nerves. I think Jericho's humor works in certain places, and in other places it's just wholly unnecessary and again, even irritating. And, in this case, I enjoyed it, but in the later case, yeah, it was unneeded.
Yeah. I just, the highlight reel was, I haven't been that annoyed at WWE in a while, and to say that after what we got tonight and last night speaks volumes.
Yeah, definitely. And you see Rollins is kind of imposing his will a little bit on Heyman, not really in a violent way, but really just being a very mocking of him, this, that. Says, you got something to say to me, Paul? And then Paul, of course, just reiterates, no, I am going to be the professional here. I am not a fighter. I am not an entertainer. I'm an advocate, and I am just going to take a step back. So, we got the emotionally aware Paul Heyman that knows where he is at all times. So that was pretty funny. And then Rollins says, he had John Cena beat last night at TLC. But he got his victory stolen. So if you have scorecards at home, folks, that's the second straight victory that, according to Mr. Rollins, has been stolen from him. The first being Survivor Series. Then I actually give Rollins credit for a second here, because he says, he wants a rematch with John Cena, and he wants to beat him and, settle that. But then it goes like ... but not tonight. Boo! He's like, now wait. I was in the match of my life last night, a very dangerous match. I need time to heal. Then, I think a little while after that, Cena does come out. He does his whole thing, pretty much ripping Rollins a new one, and I wanted to rip Cena's face off because of it. And, he just says, Rollins, all you do is whine and you make excuses and you lost last night and to deal with it. And God, I wanted to punch him in the face. Cena then turns to Heyman and says the match with Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble will be a fight. And he says, but hey, I still want to fight tonight. And he says, Rollins, you do have a point. I can't beat you without help, and I need help tonight. And he turns to Jericho and he says, well, wait, there's Raw General Manager Chris Jericho. And they kind of pal around a little bit before finally Jericho does say that Seth Rollins will face John Cena tonight in a steel cage match. I think John Cena says something like, good luck tonight, kid, or something like that to Rollins as he heads up to the back. Rollins is just losing his mind over it. Like, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely absurd. How could this happen to me? I was at the match of my life last night. This is just not fair.
Can I just say, Seth Rollins was the single most entertaining entity on Raw tonight, and it wasn't even close.
I know, right? He was so good here. Like, to me, it was him and Paul Heyman that I got the most enjoyment out of tonight.
And I do want to add, you said about how you were mad about Cena telling Rollins, back step away, kid, because the adults are talking now. I think that what pissed me off most about that Cena promo was the line that he had about losing. He said, you lost, kid. You don't need to make up excuses. You just got to move on. I don't want people to just move on when they lose. I want wins and losses to matter. If you lose, I want you to be up in arms about it. I want you to be angry about it. I don't want you to just no-sell it like John frickin' Cena does every time he loses. I want losses to matter in the WWE, and if it means making up excuses, I would much prefer that to just no-selling it and acting like it didn't matter.
Yeah. Absolutely. And what does Cena even know about feeling the weight and consequences of losing? Well,
that's the thing, though, dude. Even now, first of all, I agree with you. He loses rarely, but even when he does lose, it doesn't matter. He no-sells it every time.
And that's kind of my point, though. Like, I didn't even mean it in the sense that he rarely loses, though that is true, and I thank you for pointing that out. I did mean it to that point, that when he does lose, like, what does he even know about it? It just brushes it off. And then in the grander scheme...
Well, that's what he was trying to tell Seth Rollins to do, too. That's the problem.
But see, Seth doesn't, I was going to say, on a grander scale, the system brushes it off for Cena, because it doesn't take long for him to get back to where he used to be before he even suffered a loss. Whereas for guys like Seth, I think losses are going to carry a bit more weight, even though he does have the Money in the Bank briefcase, that doesn't really, amount to much in the present moment. So Cena telling him to get over it, screw yourself, Cena.
Yeah, it's like, of course Cena can say that, because if anybody doesn't have to care about losing, it's Cena, because he could lose, every match of every show for 3 months straight, and then all he would take is one match over one guy for the following week, and he would be number one contender again.
Exactly. And therein lies the problem. But speaking of problems, pretty soon Paul Heyman would have a problem, because Rollins, in his anger, turns to Jericho and he says, I know what this is about. I got you all figured out. You're just jealous of me. You're jealous of me because I'm doing this, and you wish you were in my spot right now. Look at you. You're old. You're broken down. You couldn't beat the popcorn guy. You couldn't beat the janitor. Hell, you couldn't even beat Paul Heyman. Now, to Chris's own defense, he does point out that the popcorn guy is a ninja. So that explains that.
That
But-
might have been the funniest thing Jericho said all night, and I still didn't laugh. I just got kind of like a little grin on my face.
Yeah, same here. But he says, I think I could beat Paul Heyman. I think I could beat Paul Heyman. The crowd seems to agree and says, like, no, I really don't think you could beat Paul Heyman. And Paul's just, like, standing in the corner like, wait, don't I get to say this? And then finally Heyman does interject. And he's like, for the record, I believe you could beat Paul Heyman.
That should have been the end of it right there. That should have been the end of it. Paul Heyman swallows his pride. That's the end of the conversation. You change the subject, just like Heyman said to. Jericho's just like, oh, well, I mean, as long as you think that I could beat you, that's fine. Like, move on.
And then not only that, he gives the crowd, who I guess proved to be a bunch of sadists, the opportunity to vote for the stipulation that Jericho and Heyman are going to have on the WWE app. Even though, like you just said, Ashton, Heyman swallowed his pride, says, I believe you could beat me, all that stuff. And no, Jericho, now it really crystallizes for me your heat of the night earlier in the prior segment about babyfaces being bullies. Because you have the guy pretty much submit to you, concede that you're the better guy, and yet you're still going to beat the crap out of him, or at least have the intention to beat the crap out of him. That's a great lesson for everybody everywhere.
Yeah.
Jerk. So yeah, Ashton, we come back from the break, we find out our choices are street fight, no holds barred, or extreme rules.
So in other words, 3 matches that are the exact same thing.
Yeah, that was pretty much my point too.
And the glorious thing is, even though it straight up would not have mattered which one you picked because they're all the same, it ended up mattering even less because the match never even happened.
Yes, but for pretty awesome reasons, I guess you could say.
Everybody vote. Your vote means everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Now take all of the adjectives I just used in that sentence and flip them opposite.
Oh, man. But we go from that to our first actual match of the night. Luke Harper and Big Show versus Eric Rowan and Dolph Ziggler. You know what, for me, this is pretty much a by-the-books tag match. I think the real highlight for me, to be honest, was heel Big Show kind of imposing his will on Dolph Ziggler, who we knew was coming in hurt. And even if he wasn't, he's just so great in that role, playing the scrappy babyface, trying, against dire odds to make the hot tag. I wish they would have teased it a bit more, because I think this crowd could have really popped for Rowan. But it was nice for what it was. Because, the show really punished Ziggler before he was able to get anything going. Harper does come in, and so does Rowan. They both get their respective tags. Rowan pretty much takes it to Harper. Everybody kind of spills out. And then, of course, that's at the point I think Harper nailed a super kick, which led into Rowan being kind of discombobulated, and then Big Show getting the knockout punch. I kind of feel for Rowan here. He's pretty much lost all of his steam, which is a shame, because I felt like going into TLC, he had that really cool segment where he laid everybody out with steel steps, and he stood tall with, Cena, Ziggler, and pretty much Team Cena from Survivor Series. And now he's here just eating 2 straight pins from Big Show in the span of 24 hours. Kind of sucks. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, Big Show and Luke Harper win.
Cares.
Yeah, right, and that's really just it, and that's the thing, Ashton. Like, I don't really feel like anybody really cared. We go backstage after that. Fandango's with Rosa Mendez. Chris Jericho walks up. Fandango says Jericho will have to take his slammy if he wants it. Jericho tells Fandango to shut the hell up. Jericho says, hey, when I'm done with Heyman, I'm going to come back here, I'm going to dance all over your face, and then I'm going to take my slammy. So, again, we get that tease, like, something is building up with these two. And, we come back. We get a recap from Bray Wyatt and Dean Ambrose from TLC. Super SmackDown is tomorrow night. And
we're going to get a live SmackDown, John. I don't like this. I really do not like having boom, 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 3 straight days of WWE programming.
Yeah, I just want to get to Lucha Underground and TLC, man. I mean NXT.
NXT.
Yeah. No, please not another TLC. Please, I take that back. Lucha Underground, NXT. That's really where I'm trudging along to. That's where my mind is at. And you know what the hilarious thing is?
I'm at the point that I want to start watching ROH on Saturdays just to get that crap out of my mouth. That WWE style crap out of my mouth. Like, I think even if I could just watch ROH for 1 hour every Saturday night just to get 1 hour of Steve Corino every week, I'd be happy.
Yeah, really. And you know what the hilarious thing is? Of the heels of this of the TLC pay-per-view, which you and I both really weren't fans of, and this Raw, which, while we have mixed opinions, I mean, you and I can at least both agree it was nothing really to write home about, save for a few things, is that this week is WWE week. That, to me, is hilarious. Like, oh my god.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I believe, is how far it goes.
Yeah.
So, like, really, like, WWE half week.
Yeah, really. We come back, Renee is backstage with the New Day.
It was so bad.
See, dude, like, here, because I told you that I was pretty much keeping pace with Buitov doing, like, live commenting throughout the show. And the thing I said about the New Day, I love the dynamics in ring, no matter who's in the ring, because I like all three guys. I just can't get myself to care about these guys. And
apparently neither could tonight's crowd, because, wow.
Yeah, at least I know that I'm not in the minority. And again, I really want to stress to everybody, I am a fan of these guys, and moreover, I am a fan of Stardust and Goldust. It's just I have no reason to care about any of these guys or this program. And it's a damn shame, because I think there's a lot of talent there. But
you know what I hate?
What's that?
This gimmick, this New Day thing.
Yeah.
There's so much about it that you can, if you just read a little bit into, it just screams Vince McMahon, Kevin Dunn, Michael Hayes racist shit.
Yeah.
First of all, let's just start with the fact that it is three black guys in a faction together. Right off the bat, there are racial undertones. You cannot escape that. The fact that it's three black dudes and that is part of the gimmick, boom, right there, we are starting with a racial foundation. Second of all, they're all super happy and positive. Could this maybe be a shot at Alberto Del Rio? Or maybe the WWE trying to maybe mend some wounds that they've inflicted on racial minorities in the past with the Nation of Domination, and basically making it seem like the only way, and here's the worst part, the only way that black guys can get over is by rapping and dancing, which just so happens to be exactly what the New Day does.
Yeah, you make a great point there. I didn't even really think about that. What I always pictured it was, I thought this was Vince kind of imposing the stereotype of, like, black people going to church or something. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's Big E's thing.
Yeah. But I felt like it kind of extended.
You don't understand. These guys are literally three individual stereotypes on their own. Kofi randomly now has a rap gimmick. Okay. Just because he's a black dude, now he's a rapper. I get it, I guess. It's horrible, it's racist, it's stereotypical, but I get it. Now, all of a sudden, Xavier Woods is that hype guy who sometimes gets a little bit overzealous and needs to get held back by his homies, and Big E is a black preacher. Like, this is the worst crap the WWE is doing right now, and the state of the WWE, that speaks volumes.
Yeah, you really putting it like that, and I know several members of Buitov agreed with me. I'm sorry. I still miss what the original plan for this group was. I know it had its problems.
I don't give a crap what the original plan was, dude. There is no possible way for this faction to work. And I don't mean that in a racial way. I mean because if they are baby faces, the WWE does not know how to book them in a way that is not stereotypical and or racist. If they are heels, the crowd is going to be cheering a group of black men who do not want to be pigeonholed as stereotypes or given racist gimmicks. It is a lose, 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 and the WWE needs to end it as quickly as possible, but we know they won't because they see money in it for whatever reason.
And yet I'd still opt for the former, to be honest, rather than them actually getting pigeonholed and doing these stereotypical, because it's just so tired. It's first of all, like you said, it is offensive to anybody, who would take offense to this. I think there are legitimate grounds for that. It does have its racial undertones and things like that. But even beyond that, even if you could stomach it and you could just be like, okay, it doesn't change the fact that it's just a tired thing. Because how many Crime Times and R-Truths and all these people are we going to get? Why can't we just have three guys who just want to run roughshod and do something? That was pretty much the Shield. I mean, these guys were like, hey, we're young, we're hungry, we want to take over. Why can't other guys on the undercard have that mentality?
Other guys on the undercard can have that mentality, but not these black guys because they're black. Because racist and Vince and Dunn and mostly Hayes.
But it just makes me, honestly, it makes me really feel bad for for Xavier Woods, because he even said, like, it's 2014.
Dude, Xavier Woods is the most entertaining part of this entire thing.
Yeah.
The fact that he's getting more TV time almost, and I want to emphasize almost because it doesn't, but almost makes it worth happening.
Yeah.
I freaking love like when he was doing his stuff tonight and he went for Lost in the Woods, or not Lost in the Woods, the victory roll. What was it? The honor roll?
Honor roll.
I was so into it, and I like all I could say was, man, I miss it when he says it's morphin' time.
Yeah. I don't know, man. But, nothing more I could say than that, so I don't want to get repetitive, so I think I'll move on here. We go from that. We get the Bella Twins versus Alicia Fox and Natalya, and I'm sorry, Ashton, this is another reason why I hated this show. Brie Bella's heel turn still to me makes no sense. And I think she tried explaining it, was it tonight or was it last night?
I think we had like a 1 or 2 line explanation from JBL on the night that she kissed AJ to cost her the title.
Yeah, and I know.
And they just expected us to be like, oh, well, JBL said that one thing that one time, so now when they hammer everything else into our heads constantly.
Right, and I think it was last night, TLC, before Nikki's return match with AJ, Brie did get to talk a little bit, and I think she pretty much just gave the reason, oh, well, she's my sister, and we gotta stick together. Like, oh my god, annoying. And, of course, the random...
So now, can we just establish that Stephanie McMahon still has not gotten her comeuppance?
No. Yeah.
Stephanie McMahon has done all this stuff. I mean, you can go back as far as when she fired, slapped, humiliated the Big Show, all the way up to all the crap that she did to Daniel Bryan, and then Brie quits, and then Stephanie does all this stuff with Brie, with Nikki. She basically, I don't want to say torture because that's a little bit of a hyperbole, but she puts Nikki through hell on the main roster on Raw because of Brie quitting, and then Brie finally comes back and gets her match with Stephanie, and Stephanie still wins that match because of Nikki turning on Brie, and now Nikki and Brie are friends again, and neither one of them is any worse for wear. And neither is Stephanie.
Yeah, exactly.
All was a zero-sum game. Nothing means anything.
Well, that's just it. I mean, that's the grand problem. Even if you want to zero in on just Nikki and Brie, Nikki treated Brie like crap for 30 days. Now, the usual story when it comes to servitude, one storyline that I thought did this so much better, and it's in the WWE, so it can still be relevant.
JBL and Shawn Michaels?
JBL and Shawn Michaels. Yeah. That was fantastic because JBL got legitimate gain.
Dude, that storyline, I was young enough that made me legitimately uncomfortable for Shawn.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I loved it, man. I loved the night that JBL was able to become a number one contender when Shawn Michaels wouldn't lay down for JBL, but he ate a clothesline from hell. Like, they did so many great things there. Now, the logical thing would be, Brie is just fighting her time in anticipation for that clock to run out.
Yeah, I mean, how brilliant would it have been if she cost AJ the championship just so that she could take it from her sister?
Exactly. I'm not asking her to help AJ or do anything like that. She could have helped Nikki and then been like, raised her hand and seemed all happy, and then she could have gotten on the microphone and be like, oh, Nikki, I just wanted you to know, you winning that Divas Championship, I'm so happy for you. But you know who I'm even happier for? Me, and then beats the crap out of her. Like, just something like that. Just give me something. This is so stupid. Do
you know what, though, John? Cutting that kind of promo would be a heel turn. That would be like a double turn. That would be like Nikki turns face, Brie turns heel.
I mean, I guess, but at the same time, though, given all the prior...
Let's be honest with ourselves. They're both better as a heel. I just wish we would have gotten a better explanation as to why Brie turned.
Yeah. But, you know what, that's that. We get the random team of Alicia Fox and Natalya where you want to talk about turns. I don't even know what Alicia Fox is anymore. The only saving grace for me, and I'm not even kidding when I say this, Tyson Kidd was at ringside.
Yep.
Always nice to see Tyson.
And the hilarious part was, after the match, he was tending to Nikki Bella.
But see, that scares me at the same time, because Natalya got the submission win. Tyson was tending to Nikki. Please please don't tell me that Natalya is going to be the number one contender now and face Nikki at Rumble with this whole thing of
Why?
maybe Tyson's got an eye for Nikki Bella.
What's wrong with that?
I don't know. I just really didn't want to see it.
I genuinely do not like the Natalya character, and to me, she's a better heel. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, she's still one of the top 3 or 4 workers in the WWE. I think she might be a better in-ring worker than AJ. I mean, look at what she did tonight. She had 40 seconds of offense, and she proved in those 40 seconds that she was leaps and bounds better than everyone else she was in the ring with.
Right. I mean, yeah, I guess it should be a good program. I just think I'm still waiting, but she's tied up with her own business, so I guess logically it wouldn't even work out. Naomi getting that championship opportunity, but she's got her own storyline, which we'll get to later.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why are you gonna call Naomi the number one contender when she hasn't done anything to earn it?
Well, I mean, she got a victory over Brie Bella too, to be fair, and she had her own interaction with the Bellas.
Well, who cares about a victory over Brie? She's not the champion.
Well, yeah, but Natalya made Brie tap out by that same token, and I feel like Natalya is only going to get in it because, again, that little tease with Tyson checking on Nikki after the match.
Yeah, but still, I don't think that a victory over Brie Bella counts, but I do think that the thing going on with Tyson and Nikki might end up leading up to a point where Natalya gets a title shot.
Yeah, and I think Tyson could be the thing that makes this worthwhile for me personally, because
anytime he's on TV, it's better.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, we may have gotten a glimpse into the future there. Who knows? But with that said, we come back from break, and Jericho is out again. Now, man, this really was Raw's Jericho tonight. He got a lot of, I'd almost say overexposure. But he comes out for the highlight reel. Now this, save for the whole Jericho stuff, was my segment of the night because of what it led to. I am super excited for this. But before I get ahead of myself, Jericho does come out. He introduces Lana and Rusev. Now, Jericho resorts to his sophomoric humor.
Which Lana straight up called him out for ahead of time.
Yeah, definitely.
She said, before you get to your juvenile humor, and immediately he went for it.
Yeah, he did. He's like, oh, is there something going on between you two? And, insinuating that they had a deeper relationship besides, competitor and valet.
Well, and the thing that I hated about that was that they are legitimately dating in real life, and Jericho doesn't need to bring that up. You don't need to freaking break kayfabe anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was another thing. That happened during the freaking Miz versus Jimmy Uso match. Freaking Michael Cole said, oh, well, now Sandow needs to take his bump. And then JBL said something about how, isn't that a little inside baseball or something like that? Oh my God, it's just been so bad.
The annoyances are so real. Anyway, Jericho goes through his usual shtick, but then, Rusev, I love how he pretty much says, small guy, you talk too much, and that he's going to destroy him. I just consistently continue to love Rusev. And then Jericho's like, well, wait. Seems like every time I come here, and somebody wants to beat me up, but I definitely know somebody who wants to fight you. And Ryback's music hits, and Ryback comes out, and he confronts Rusev, and what I loved, I don't know if you caught it, Ashton, but because Rusev's whole thing is Rusev Crush, Ryback looked at Rusev, and he pretty much goes, Ryback Smash.
Yeah.
So we pretty much got that whole thing kind of going on. Finally, this program is happening. I still personally would have preferred it at Mania, but this just convinces me that Rusev Cena is happening, and I'm just really excited for this. I think it's going to be wonderful.
I don't think Rusev Cena is happening at Mania, to be honest.
See, no, I'm going to bite back because I want to get through this, but I have my own theory about how we're going to get there, but I'll save that for later. But I really am
because I think that our main event of WrestleMania is going to be Cena Reigns.
See, and I have to disagree. I still think the end game is Reigns Lesnar, but again, I'll get more into that later. I think
Lesnar's going to lose the title to Cena at Rumble and then just flat out leave. I don't think Lesnar's even going to be on Mania, if you want the truth.
And see, fine, if you're just going to come out and say, I'll come out and say mine. I think Ryback is going to beat Rusev for the title at Rumble, and then Rusev, to get his momentum back, he's going to take it out on Cena, and that's how we all get to where the pieces are.
Wow.
So yeah,
you think Ryback's going to be the one to beat Rusev first?
Yeah, Ryback's going to end it. But you know what? I'm actually cool with, because it gets me more invested in Rusev Cena, making me believe that Rusev may actually beat Cena when there's no streak in place. So, yeah, you said your lock was Cena beating Lesnar last night on Live Reactions. My lock is Ryback beating Rusev for the title. definitely.
All right, we will have to talk about that when we get to it. But for now, we have the New Day versus Gold Star, and this match got absolutely crapped on by the crowd. I will admit, though, if there was a highlight to this match, it was commentary, and it was all thanks to Kofi Kingston.
Definitely, yeah. Kofi, I think, was very fun on commentary, trying to convince JBL to be positive. But here's the thing with me in this match, guys. It went on way too long. I think the crowd agreed with that.
This match felt like a 20 frickin' minute match. It didn't need to be more than 7.
Yeah, it really felt like it overstayed its welcome. And if you don't believe me, ask the crowd. Because
we got a CM Punk chant, we got JBL chants. At one point, I can happily say we even got an NXT chant. This went for way too long, but I mean, hey, if for no other reason, I'm happy because now we finally know what the name of the combination DDT big ending is between Xavier, I keep on wanting to say Rhodes, Woods and Big E. They called it, Kofi exclaimed multiple times over, the Midnight Hour, the Midnight Hour. So apparently they're going to be naming their finishers after Jimi Hendrix songs.
I'm cool with that. Yeah, we even got a We Want Mizdow chant at one point. I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, this match, just really boring. I got taken out. But Big E and Xavier Woods win. Renee Young, we then cut to that. Her being backstage with Miz and Damian Mizdow. Miz cuts a promo on Jimmy Uso, says he's going to, be spoiling any chance for Naomi to make it to Hollywood and make something of herself. And Miz says the credits will roll tonight on the story of Jimmy Uso because this is Miz's time now.
Yeah,
so
this was stupid, in my opinion. Although the earlier segment that we got... Wait, no. I thought you just said that... Was this the Naomi segment or was this the Renee segment?
This was the Renee segment.
Okay, yeah. This segment, I really liked this because you could tell that Damian Sandow knew the promo going into it. Like, Miz probably had the promo written out, and he showed it to Sandow, and Sandow memorized a bunch of, if not most of the lines, because Damian Sandow was keeping up with the Miz, lipping the words that Miz was saying word for word for I would say a solid 65 to 75% of this promo. It was awesome.
Yeah, it really was amazing. So kudos to Mizdow. We go from that backstage segment to another one. Adam Rose and the Rosebuds backstage.
I actually liked this segment, dude. They're winning me back on Adam Rose.
I really wasn't that crazy
about it.
Dude,
Adam Rose goes, "Oh, look, everyone, it's Kane." And everyone's just like, yay.
Yeah, pretty much public perception of the Big Red Machine at this point. But Kane
was great tonight too. I really enjoyed Kane tonight. He was like grumpy Uncle Kane instead of Corporate Kane.
I know, right? And he pretty much tells Adam Rose, "Hey, you and I have a match together," which means party's over. We come back from the break.
Don't you understand, Kane? It's not over. It's all the time.
Yeah.
John's just like, oh my god, what is he doing?
But these two have a match, and I have to say, it was harmless, I guess, but this also kind of irritated me, because are we just forsaking the whole storyline with Adam Rose and the Bunny now? I thought it would have been cool for Adam Rose to know what he had stepped in, and then to be like, oh, screw this, and he throws the Bunny in there, and he kind of leaves with the Rosebuds. But instead, we see Adam Rose get throttled by the throat. The Bunny actually tries to help Rose.
What is this, what's it called? The syndrome where...
Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah, Stockholm Syndrome. What is this? Stockholm Syndrome?
And more importantly, to your point, and I don't know if you were going to bring it up again here, but I like that you brought it up when we were talking when the show was on. Why are two heels in the ring together having a match?
Yeah! This was, it was weird because you would think Adam Rose would be the babyface in this match, but he did some heelish stuff, to go out of the ring, run around, and then get back in the ring, and then assault your opponent when they try to get back in the ring. That's a heel move.
Yeah.
I don't understand. But then I freaking love Kane because he's getting ready to leave, but apparently the Bunny is just Pete Rose, and he goes back and he's like, this is not enough, and he has to tombstone him as well.
I have to give a quick plug to our friend Abel because he had comment of the night in the thread. He's like, well, I guess you could call him Pete Rosebud. So
yeah.
Good.
There you go.
But yeah, Kane even got thanked by the crowd for this. That's how bad this was, I guess, in their eyes.
Yeah. Up next, though, we had Paul Heyman versus Chris Jericho, which didn't happen. It just ended up being Jericho getting F5'd by Brock Lesnar, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, he got laid out. We can even skip this next segment here because it was Fandango doing his thing, and then we already talked about Reigns and the Big Show.
Yeah, all right. Well, hey, then after that, we had The Miz versus Jimmy Uso. This was the match where frickin' commentary broke kayfabe for a split second. Pissed me off. Damien Mizdow, I hate to be that guy, but I feel like it's kind of starting to wear out its welcome.
See, and I still think the crowd is ripe for it, especially because I will give this match credit. They had a nice tease of tension here between Miz and Mizdow, where he kind of shoved Mizdow out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm speaking more from a personal level.
Right.
Like, I'm personally starting to get, like, okay, I get the point. He does everything the Miz does. Where is this going? And I know where it's going. I just feel like it's not getting here soon enough, and I'm going to stop caring before it gets here.
Right, because I'm personally hoping Mizdow eliminates Miz in the Rumble match, and then eliminates himself in grand fashion, but then just proceeds to beat the crap out of the Miz. But yeah, I did like that little... well, yeah.
Why would he eliminate himself and then proceed to beat the crap out of the Miz?
Well, staying true to the stunt double thing, but then wanting to, I guess, break out on his own.
Why would he stay true to the stunt double thing if he hates the Miz enough to beat him up afterwards?
Well, maybe he just feels like getting to the Miz would be, more important than winning the Rumble. I don't know. Maybe he looks at his own odds and says, I'm not winning this thing, so I might as well get my pound of flesh while I can.
Oh, my God. Okay, you know what, dude? The reason that I'm sighing is because that's something WWE would do, so I can't even complain. Or argue, I guess I should say. I can't even argue.
There you go, because I could totally see them doing it. See, there you go. But Miz eats a super kick and then a splash, and Usos win, even in singles. So that was that.
There's somebody on Reddit that has a prevailing theory about whether the Usos are going to win or not based on whether they're wearing shirts or not. And apparently it hasn't been right, or it hasn't been wrong in like 5 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
After the matchup, we go to a commercial break, we come back, we see Naomi, Miz, and Mizdow backstage. He says, look, despite
this
my little
dumb.
Like, it's weird because I'm proud of Naomi for being a part of a storyline outside of her division, but I'm just really afraid that this is going to do damage to her.
Dude, she's not even playing a part in this story. She's literally just a pawn in a greater story. Like, she is, at this point, she could be a slab of meat. She could be a dog. She could be a freaking mannequin head. And everything playing out would still work just as well.
Right.
She's irrelevant to this story.
Yeah.
The entire story is built around The Miz getting into the head of Jimmy Uso. It doesn't matter how he does it. It just so happens that the prop that they're using in this specific case just happens to be Naomi.
Right. It tells Naomi, hey, despite the setback I had, I don't hold it against you. I'm still trying my best. And then just pretty much gets around to the point that I want you on Miz TV tomorrow night on Main Event. And you're going to get exposure for so many people. Yeah, I would look at some of those ratings for that show and probably disagree.
You know what they're probably going to do?
What's that?
Well, we all know that the Miz's shtick is that he doesn't let his guests talk. So I think he is going to pull the heel move of not letting his guests talk. And then Jimmy Uso is going to show up and proceed to also not let Naomi talk for herself and do all the talking for her and be a complete douche towards her and the Miz.
Yeah, I could very easily see that happen too, especially because Miz tells her, you might not want to tell your husband about it. That's just great. So, yeah, we pretty much know a segment that's going to happen on Main Event now. And then we go to that.
And Main Event's happening at 7, which is when it's actually happening pretty much every week. It just so happens that they just show it an hour later and try and act like it's live. Well, tomorrow night it's actually going to be happening live.
Right. And, I'm sure that'll be a worthwhile segment. So we go from that to Renee Young backstage with Seth Rollins. And Rollins, of course, expresses his dissatisfaction about being in a steel cage tonight.
Dude, I just realized we have another 3 hours of WWE programming to watch tomorrow. Jesus!
I know. It never stops.
Oh, I'm so sick of it. This is going to be, I'm not even exaggerating, this is going to be, if you include pre-shows, this is going to be 10 hours worth of WWE programming over the course of 3 days consecutively.
Yeah. Oh God, that doesn't sound good at all.
We had 3.5 hours Sunday night, including the pre-show, 3.5 hours Monday night, including the pre-show, and now we're going to get another 3 hours on Tuesday night because I don't think there is a main event or SmackDown pre-show.
Right. So, of course, Rollins expressing his dissatisfaction about being in this match tonight. Once again says that we need the authority. Supreme run-of-the-mill Seth Rollins promo. And then we get to the steel cage match, which I'm going to hand over to Ashton, because, again, I only saw the tail end of it, if I'm being honest. What did you think of this cage match, Ashton?
This cage match was better than any match that we got on all of TLC.
Yeah, that was actually seemed to be the consensus that I saw, too, from the internet.
This was a great match. I won't go as far as to say, 5 stars, but this was, to me, like, if I genuinely hate the star rating system, but if I decided to buy into it for just long enough for me to rate matches over the course of the last 2 nights, the best match last night was Wyatt Ambrose, and I would give that like 3.5, and this Cena versus Rollins match would be like a 4-star match.
Wow. All right, well, glad to see that these two really pulled it out.
Dude, I absolutely love when these guys get the opportunity to actually work with each other. But last night, everything was so freaking overbooked. There was no flow. There was no pacing. It was just run-in after shenanigans after run-in after shenanigans.
Right, I did see from the moments I saw, J&J Security did play a factor at one point. Cena tried to escape through the door.
Yeah, you know what? They played a factor, but it didn't really feel overdone. It was one of those things where you could kind of be like, oh, well, there's no point for J&J to let Cena escape the game. I think that the role that J&J Security played was not letting Cena escape, not quite as much as not letting Cena win. Because Cena could have won if he would have just gone for a pinfall and Rollins wouldn't have kicked out. Because J&J Security, it's not like they were breaking up pinfalls or anything like that. They were just not letting Cena escape. And that, to me, isn't an unforgivable kind of offense. Or unforgivable kind of, because I like that. I hate the idea of cage matches where you can escape, because the entire point of a cage match is to prevent people from getting in or out. So why in the world would escape be a good thing? That just gets on my nerves. And I get that that's like traditional wrestling, but to me, the point of a cage match is to keep everything contained so that nobody can get in or out and have a true uncontested winner. And we still didn't get that tonight. And that to me was one of the most frustrating things, because yes, I guess this is my thing. In order for Seth Rollins to defeat John Cena, he needs J&J Security and the permission from Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Cena seemed like he was closing in, but then Lesnar emerged, and I did see this, and he pretty much lays John Cena out with 3 German suplexes and an F5. And what I liked here was that Rollins wanted to put his own little punctuation on it, which, by the way, before they left, Paul Heyman shook hands with Seth Rollins, which I kind of popped for. I thought that was pretty cool. But then Seth felt the need to put his own little punctuation on it. He gets a curb stomp on Cena. Now, I'm thinking he's going to go for the cover.
Oh, dude, I was yelling at again. I hate yelling at my screen because I feel like an idiot, but I was yelling at my screen again. Rollins, go for the cover. Don't just walk out. You can pin John Cena. Not a lot of people get the opportunity to do this. Go for it. And he just freaking walked out. And not only did he just walk out, but he did it like briskly, like he's Kevin Nash or something.
Yeah. I just really didn't get it at all. I mean, I'm happy that Seth got the win, and better that than him losing.
Even in defeat, John Cena has to be protected above everyone else.
Which I just don't understand at all, but it's whatever. Rollins is celebrating with J&J Security, and mercifully, this episode of Raw is over on a high note, admittedly. So that's
I genuinely enjoyed the main event match. The only problem that I had with it was that Seth Rollins needed a steel cage, 2 lackeys, a Money in the Bank briefcase, and Brock Lesnar to win.
And a partridge in a pear tree. So
it was last night's was more overbooked because there was more interference preventing Cena from winning. But this was like stack all the odds against Cena and maybe, just maybe, you'll be able to beat him.
Right.
If you're lucky. If the right circumstances should arise. Like, really, it's not even circumstances. It's just Brock Lesnar's the only person that can beat Cena. That's it.
Yeah.
It just so happened that Brock Lesnar decided to show up and beat Cena tonight without actually pinning him because he wasn't in an official match.
Right. Okay, so with that said, I think we can get on with our next segment, high spots and low shots.
Actually, you know what, John? I appreciate the transition, but I did want to say one more thing before we moved on.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. What did you
Because I know that you did not have your main event segment volume on, did you?
No, I did not.
It is worth noting that commentary sold the crap out of the Rollins-Heyman handshake. JBL put on his frickin' Owen Hart death voice, and he was talking about how maybe Seth Rollins had this planned all along. Maybe the architect knew about this was going to happen. And they were talking about how they were trying to figure out if Rollins and Heyman had this planned the whole time or if they just did it on the fly and what this means for the future. So they really drove that point home.
So just a quick question before we really make our transition here. Do you think Seth Rollins is a Paul Heyman guy going forward?
I genuinely think that that's a possibility. I don't know. I'm not claiming to know, but I think that it would be ignorant to write that off as an impossibility.
Here's my thing, just very quickly. If that is true, that makes Seth Rollins to me look like a tremendous heel because he has been this entire time saying, oh, we need the authority. Oh, we need the authority. But it's like that saying goes, a ship will take any port in the storm. You know, Rollins felt the pressure, so he got in bed with Paul Heyman. And I think
he got in bed with him. That
yeah,
so wrong.
I think that makes Rollins look fantastic. You know, he lost one power structure that benefited him. Now he's getting with another.
Yeah,
and I think that makes
I
great.
think that there is. You know what would be amazing?
What's that?
If we had Brock Lesnar retain against Cena at Rumble, and then Lesnar talks to Heyman and tells Heyman, like, gives Heyman like a command, and Heyman just looks at him like, oh, are you sure? Okay. And Heyman calls Rollins out, and Rollins cashes in and beats Lesnar so that Lesnar can go back to UFC.
Yeah, but see, that is the brilliance, though, of Seth Rollins potentially being a Paul Heyman guy, because if Reigns overcomes Lesnar at Mania, you and I both agree that Rollins is cashing in at Mania. So the championship stays with Paul
absolutely.
Heyman.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think that it's going to be Lesnar that Reigns beats at Mania, but we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, so either way, I mean, Paul Heyman's got to be grinning from ear to ear, but that's just all I wanted to say about that. Now, let's formally get to our next segment, high spots, low shots. I'm going to make mine real quick. My low shot is Eric Rowan. I got pinned twice by Big Show in the span of 24 hours, has lost, in my opinion, all of his babyface momentum, at least for the time being. I'll be curious how he's going to rebound, but it's going to be a tough time.
Yeah. My low shot is Chris Jericho for the combination of being unentertaining and getting destroyed by Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, I agree with that. Nothing more I can add to that. My high spot is Ryback, because he goes from the worst to probably one of the best people you could work with. I think Ryback is going to get all of his momentum back, and if I'm right, Ryback is finally going to cinch his first title in WWE, that being the United States Championship. Very much looking forward to Ryback versus Rusev. And
my high spot is Seth Rollins for being the most entertaining thing that was going on tonight and for beating John Cena.
Absolutely on point. I can't add anything further to that. So that would then bring us to Raw Request. And oh god, it would be so easy to be snarky right now. But, you know what? I'm just going to say, help Eric Rowan get his babyface momentum back, because I was actually digging the character, and I'm hoping in Raws going forward he gets some kind of semblance of direction. He's probably going to be in the Rumble match, but it's just a shame that he's lost to Big Show twice now. So try and help his recuperative process. Ashton, what's your Raw request?
I have a personal Raw request, and then I have an objective Raw request.
Let's hear both. Let's hear it out.
Personal Raw request is to keep the Usos off Raw for at least 3 months and only have them show up on SmackDown, because every single time their music hits, I groan louder than anything else on this show.
Yes. Okay.
But the objective Raw request is to continue to let guys like Seth Rollins shine on shows like this.
Yeah, definitely.
Because let's look at everyone that wasn't on this show, John. There was no Cesaro. There was no Sheamus, who's been out for a while. There was no Randy Orton or Bad News Barrett. They've all been out for a while. There was no Dean Ambrose, and there was no Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
And to me, Seth Rollins absolutely stole the show.
Oh, without question. Without question. In fact, this potential alliance with him, which I think is huge for him, is going to make Randy Orton's return mean that much more, which only further benefits Rollins because he's going to be having those interactions. I think Rollins has just been running away with everything. Very proud of him, and I completely agree with you.
Absolutely. So, hey, that's my thing, and I think that you know what's next.
Absolutely. 30-second hot seat. Hit me with it. Come on. Let's go.
Okay, John, this is a marathon, not a race, not a sprint. I just botched my own saying.
Well, yeah, there you go. So I'm pumped up, though. Let's do it.
Why are you rushing me?
Because I'm ready, man. I feel like I can do it this week. I'm going to take gold.
You do that every week, though.
That's debatable. Come on.
All right. Well, let's just do this. Who do you think are going to be the longest and shortest lasting guys in the Royal Rumble this year? You have 30 seconds, and your time starts now.
Okay, I think the longest lasting guy is going to be Dolph Ziggler at well over an hour, maybe even like an hour 10, somewhere around there. I think the shortest guy is no, wait, maybe not. I was going to say Santino, but I heard he had metal removal surgery recently. We'll say Heath Slater. I think he's going to find a spot in the Rumble somehow, and he's going to get eliminated fairly easy, like within seconds. So yeah, that's my answer to that.
I think The Miz is going to last the least amount of time in the Rumble.
Maybe. I think
that, like you said, I think they're going to have The Miz. His music's going to hit, and he's going to come in, and Damien Mizdow's already going to be in the ring.
Right.
And The Miz is going to get in the ring and get immediately clotheslined over the top rope, and then Mizdow is going to follow suit and eliminate himself.
Yeah. I could definitely see that playing out. So, yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see, because I don't see Miz really taking anybody's breath away this year at the Rumble, so you may have a point there. But,
let's wrap this thing up.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been Raw. This has been TwitWow, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. I have been loving the feedback you guys have been giving us recently. Really appreciate it. Keep it coming. Discuss on Pweetoff. Did you hate this Raw as much as I did? Were you more mad about it like Ashton? Saw the real bright spots in it? What did you think about it? And we will mercifully see you again for our Lucha Underground review, where the next chapter in the Dario Cueto versus Johnny Mundo saga shall be written. See you
and
there,
I believe
guys.
we're getting a Battle Royal on Wednesday.
Oh, man, I wonder what the prize is. That's going to be interesting.
I don't know. We shall see.
We shall see indeed. See you there, guys.